Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tracking Mark, this time with multipass compositing. I hope all of you had an okay 2 weeks. It's been a little crazy, but let's get to what interests us today and start with Adam's assignment. Let's have a look and I'll talk about it after. Okay, so that was a really nice one. Let's just go through it a little bit slower. And our creature popping, nice reflection. And the logo with blur. Okay, so I think he did a really amazing job. It's not an easy thing to jump into the multipass workflow and all that comes with it. There's a couple things I'd like to point out. So starting with when they pop up, since those are straight up from Cinema 4D, and rendering motion blur in 3D is a pain and takes just so much time because you have to calculate the motion blur from like the next frames, and it multiples the render time like crazy. So you would usually do motion blur in after you render your assets. And here, typically, I'd like to see some motion blur. Using something like a pixel motion blur is great. And you can even just have it as they pop out and then fade it out if you don't want to have motion blur as you continue there. That would do the trick nicely. Really great job on the reflection there. I think it's only this guy is a little bit offset at some point. Yeah, there it's a little bit too much, getting bigger than the puddle. But otherwise, that's a great reflection. And I love how since you have some glow going on them, you see the glow reflecting. It's maybe a little too much compared to what we see there, but oops. But otherwise, that's looking great. And this was done just by using the reflection path that we gave you guys, and having the matte is set on a 3D layer, so it's following the ground really nicely, and you don't need to animate the mask of the puddle at all. I don't think you did any of it. An issue I have here is on not the reflection, the shadow there. You wouldn't have a shadow just coming here. You would need to like cut it off at the edge, because the shadow would drop down to the floor underneath and you wouldn't see it there. Same thing on that side there. So just make a mask and cut off the edge of the pathway. But that's looking good. About the glow, I'm not a massive fan of it. I think it does work. You did some animation on it as well to make it look a bit different, and that's great. I think you did, from what I remember, you used some to cut out your element. You used some how do you call that? In your EXR, you use the object buffer, but then only on a layer, and then use that layer as a matte. When you can simply use EXR, if you go in the drop-down menu, there is an option for an alpha matte, and if you use the object buffer there, you can just use that, and that's going to simplify your workflow a bit. And I think since you did it that way, it's I would try to gather everything that comes in that render together in one comp, and then add some just a touch of blur and grain on that instead of having separate layers. But otherwise, that's looking pretty sweet. Nice job, Adam. Now let's see what Amanda did. Whoop. Okay, Amanda didn't export the sound, which is a shame because it's a really nice project. It's just I think the sounds add a lot to any video that you guys do, so make sure you export that when you render. Let's see it. Yeah, it's really sweet. So I really like how she made it her own by like adding so much stuff in there. Um, the the things that I like the most is how she used techniques that you guys went through like 2 weeks ago. The the smoke around here, the atmosphere, is the same thing that Mark went through in the make your own effect assignment. Just having 2D layers scattered in 3D space and adding some fractal noise on there and animate it a bit. I think it's working great. The particles are nice. Oh, about the smoke, if you can, that might be a little tricky, but since it's actually the more you see you go through the scene, the more smoke there should be. So I would try to add some just on the back there to have the temple a little bit more in the smoke than the foreground. That would help you with the feeling of depth. That's what we call atmospherical perspective. I think I touched up on that way back when you guys were adding building to the Las Vegas shot. Yeah, those look like they have some blur on them, which I think is great. We have a little bit of an issue with, and I think that's maybe because you were confused with the two different renders you had. Those creatures were rendered with the camera in Cinema 4D, which means you don't need to animate them in your shot. What you did is you tracked the shot and added them on linked to it, and now they like slide up as we get there. You can see the shadow, especially there. You can see they like sliding, going up, which we don't want. So make sure you just simply unlinking the null layer you had there should work. It works great with your elf guy there. Is that an elf, a goblin? I don't know. It's kind of scary. And I think that was great that you picked your own assets or looked up for assets online and like added looks like a mix-emo dance almost. But I think that's really fun. You got the reflection working really well under his feet. And yeah, it looked great. At first, I really thought you had the same workflow because the track is really nice. But yeah, that's just a 2D layer added in 3D. That's awesome. Your color grading is actually really good. Same thing, I don't think you exploit the EXR to the fullest, and I would really recommend you guys to look through it and really try to separate your specular. Yeah, if we can say something, that might be something like your specular is a little bright. But otherwise it's looking pretty good. Yeah, nice job, Amanda. And I think what you can take away from this one is yeah, try to make your project your own, because otherwise 30 other students that are in the same class as you are going to end up with the same looking shot. And I mean, Amanda's shot here is not perfect, but at least nobody else has the same shot looking like that. So that was a pretty neat one. Okay, see you guys soon.